Okay, so I'm streaming to Facebook now.
So we ready to go?
We are still missing Alderwoman Glenn, but I haven't heard anything about if she's going to be in or not tonight.
Okay, well, we'll get started because it's 5:30. So the first item of business, we need an approval for the minutes for July 14th, 2020 meeting.
Approve.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second by Mr. Peterson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, good to go. First item of business is 0449-20. Communication submitting an application for a public dance hall license. DARL Inc. doing business as Still Country located at 1100 Douglas Avenue. Wendy Coey, agent for the 4th District. My understanding is they withdrew their application. So
That is correct.
I would take a request to receive and file this item.
Receive and file.
We have a second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we're gonna do these next items. The first, I'll read it first, is 0058-20, communication sponsored on behalf of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee requesting the appearance of Micah Tharp, agent for 509 Social Lounge at 509 6th Street, pursuant to a formal expression of concern, and also requesting consideration of rescinding the formal expression of concern, 1st District. First thing I'm going to do is ask Sergeant Webb, because there's a lot of reports, if he could read the reports on this one, if we could do these one at a time and read the reports, why we called, why we called them in.
The reports from when they was initially called in, or from since they was called in?
Well, I know this thing was first done back in February, I believe.
Whatever.
And then we were closed. And the only reason I just want to refresh everybody's memory, just to go through, because there's so many reports here, have you go through why we're at this point, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. So initially, this all stemmed from the January 5th, 2020 incident, and that was officers responded to the bar reference a fight. The caller stated there were 5 males fighting inside the bar with a mention of a firearm. The caller stated 2 parties with the guns ran out on 7th Street. An off-duty officer was also working that night, and there was a separate incident with a female taking the male keys, which all culminated into the fight inside the bar, the parties with firearms on 7th Street, and also an accident on 7th Street. Dispatch ultimately received a call for a male party running with a gun near the church of 7th Street. They checked the area, but they were unable to identify the parties with the firearm. Then we go back to December 28th, 2019. That was a loud music complaint. Then we go back to January 30, 2019. It was an ordinance violation. The off-duty officers arrested a squad for an argument that took place outside of the bar. Ultimately, a female party was issued 2 citations and transported away. And then from there, we had the October 18th incident, which was loud music. The September 21st incident, which was loud music. September 8th incident, which is a system request. Off-duty officer working at the bar requested assistance clearing the area. From there, we had the September 8th incident, which was again loud music. August 11th incident, which is a suspicious circumstance. A female at the bar stating a lot of parties at the bar was trying to shoot her. The caller stated she was standing near the bar. The caller stated the party threatening her was wearing a white t-shirt. The off-duty officer working at the bar made contact with the caller. At that time, the caller denied needing any help. We have the August 3rd, 2019, and that was ultimately a sexual assault. Reference a suspect forcefully grabbing a female's genitalia while outside the bar. And then we had the August 2nd, 2019 incident, which is a system request. They received a car on behalf of the bar. asking for assistance in clearing the crowd and closing due to the big crowd in the area. And that goes all the way back to, I can go all the way back to May of 2019.
Okay, so, and we're calling them in for the incident was in January or February was the final culmination of this, wasn't it? Been so long, I'm trying to remember here.
It was the January 5th incident where we had the fight inside the club, the parties running with guns, and then ultimately the car accident, all just culminating in like 4 to 5 calls for service being generated in that area.
Okay, and now it's been so long now, but has there been any kind of ending to this court? Anyone had to go to court? Any kind of fines or anything like this?
Not for that particular incident, but since the time of this, you guys initially called me in since the January 5th incident, we've had a total of 10 calls for service to that bar, but that's going back to January 5th. I'm sorry, February, whatever day that meeting was.
Right.
And for some of those, they were coupled in the health code violations and the ordinance violations. So people would call because they didn't think the bar should be open due to the COVID-19 statute. But for some of those, as long as they were doing carry out, they were allowed to be open and function because I think they do have a license to serve food.
Yeah, for prepackaged.
Yeah, and even I think we had a call reference them selling alcohol, which I think, if New can correct me if I'm wrong, because of the type of license they have, they are allowed to sell liquor as long as it's in its original container for carryway. So the majority of those were loud music with a couple of health code violations / ordinance violations due to COVID-19.
Okay. All right, and I got a question, I guess, for New. So we're going to be calling this person now, right now. But my thing, my question is, we can either rescind our what is that called?
Rescind or receive and file?
Yeah, rescind or receive and file. If we rescind it, that means everything is cleared off. If we think some, if we're worried about something else happening, we could receive and file it since it's been so long. But that way, if something really bad came up again, we wouldn't have to start all over again. So we're going to call them and ask them to tell us what they're going to do about this, and then we'll take questions from the committee members and see what you guys want to do.
So, Alderman Coe, you are correct. Because this bar was called in for a formal expression of concern, that does count as a strike against them. And if the committee recalls, as I stated at the last meeting, I believe, they get 2 strikes within a 6-month period or 3 strikes within a 1-year period. Assuming they meet either of those requirements, the bar is then sent to a due process hearing in front of the due process board, which decides whether to suspend the license for a specific period of time or revoke the license. They have options to do either one. At this point, since the incident occurred in January, I went back to look to see if there had been 3 calls within a 1-year period or 2 within a 6-month period, and neither requirements had been met. So in this case, even if the committee receives and files the item, all that means is it counts as a strike against them, but nothing happens at this time unless something else happens. So for example, if they're called in within the next 6 months, that would be cause to go to due process. So the committee has several options today. The first thing it could do is receive and file the item. And as I stated, all that does is counts as a warning against them, counts against them in the future if something else happens. The option number 2 is to rescind the formal expression of concern. And I believe I've warned the committee in the past, if you rescind it, that means it never occurred. So effectively what that does is it takes that last call in out of the question for us to be considering it in the future. So it does not count as a strike against them if you rescind it. The only other thing you could do as well is to refer the item to a Good Neighbors meeting if you feel that that would help in any way. So those are the three options here.
So we are now going to call this person in, and then we'll get her sworn in, and then she can explain what's going on, and then we can get questions from the alderman. Thank you.
I'm gonna.
And I just got a text from Carrie. She's at the doctor. She won't be attending tonight. So are we calling this agent in now? Not hearing you.
I think they're trying to get them on the line.
Oh, all right.
Yep, I'm getting him right now. He is on the line. Just let me unmute him. So Micah is on the line with you now.
All right. All right. Micah, you're in here. We called you in because of concerns of things over the last beginning of the year, and we have some concerns about it. So we're going to have the city clerk swear you in, and then we'll let them go through and tell you why you were called in. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, Micah, can you raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I don't know if Sergeant Webb or if Amber wants to explain to them why they're here at this point.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello. I'm fine. I'm Sergeant Webb with the police department. I'm the liaison for the Public Safety and License Committee. And this is just carryover from the, you guys got called in, I think, back in February because all this stuff happened.
Correct.
Okay, so this is carryover from that. And one of the main incidents that happened there was the January 5th incident, to where there was a fight inside the bar. There was a car accident related to the fight inside the bar, and there was mention of individuals with firearms called in by multiple people. Before that, we had a couple incidents reference loud music, ordinance violations, which again, the off-duty officer addressed at that time, assistance requests, going all the way back with most of it being loud music, and some of it even being a sexual assault that was, I think on our end, closed out.
Correct.
Okay, and since the initial call-in back in February, we had a total of 10 calls for service to the bar at 509, with most of them being loud music. A couple of them was for health code violations, ordinance violations, and that was in reference to compliance with the COVID-19 order.
Yeah, I don't, I do sell carry out food here, so I spoke with an officer one time, and he said that the alderman called him and said that we had people inside the bar, but per the health department, I was able to have no more than 10 people in here, including staff, and we were both in here that day that the officer pulled up, and I spoke with him outside, and I just let him know per the health department we can have up to 10 people, and he said okay, and he left. I mean, just like any other carry-out place as far as Wingstop and things like that. I mean, they were allowing people to stand in the foyer while they wait on their food or place their orders for their food, and that's what we were doing. So we broke no laws or anything as far as that, but after that I saw that was kind of a problem, so then we just started using the carry-out window after that, that was such a big hassle to whomever.
But the biggest one was the big fight and everything that happened over there. And
okay, and when was that? You said that was January, the beginning of January?
Yeah.
Oh, was there any arrest made as far as the firearms or anything like that? Was there firearms? Was there any arrest made? Or was it just speculation?
Sergeant Webb?
No, so they didn't catch the person with the gun, or
Okay.
person.
Right.
It was just stated there was people in there with a gun and this thing, you know, and it just it got out of hand that night. And like I said, there's a number of different things on here and one just goes on top of the other. So, but I'm going to ask members of the committee if they have any questions for you at this time.
Alder Lumke has her hand raised.
All right, go ahead.
I have two, one for Micah and one for Sergeant Webb. So it sounds like no arrests were made in terms of, you know, the firearms that people called in. Do you have security or that kind of thing that checks people in and or would be able to make sure that those folks don't come back again? I know there's apparently an app where you can scan IDs, or I was just kind of curious about the general security picture, I guess.
Yes, we have security and we have 2 off-duty RPD racing police officers outside the premises.
Okay. And then if I could ask Sergeant Webb just a question. So I think, you know, if there's, for example, if there's a firearm, we can potentially say concretely, you know, whether that was there or not, that kind of thing. But in terms of the loud music complaints, how do officers judge that? Because I'm just kind of curious about, you know, how a person would validate that, who's on the police force, how is one bar judged against another, that kind of thing. Because I'm just curious because I don't know, you know, how that would be done, how that could be validated, I guess.
All right, rule of law is 75 feet. If I can hear 75 feet away, it's too loud. One of the things we go through with bars in downtown particularly is also a residential neighborhood. So sometimes we'll get a loud music call for someone who is inside the building. That's not necessarily loud outside the building. And for us, that means the police department, if I show up and the loud music's not going, again, that doesn't mean it wasn't loud. It just means I can't say it was loud. Some of the calls for 509, we have an off-duty officer working there, and they generally address that. You know, if it was or wasn't loud, most of the time, if they're out there, I think they would probably address it before we even got the initial call. So, but that, with the bars in residential neighborhoods, or especially where they have apartments above the bar, what's loud music to you may not be loud music to the person walking, you know, down the street, and that's what seems to happen sometimes. And even with the bar door itself, city ordinance says it has to be closed at 11 p.m. Sometimes just from the ingress and regress to the bar, the noise spills over.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from any of the committee members?
Alder Peterson and Alder Horton both have their hand raised.
Okay, Alderman Peterson and then Alderman Horton, please.
1 second here. All right, my question is for Officer Webb. It sounds like they have a police officer there on a regular basis. Do off-duty police officers that are hired by bars, do they step up, and if there is a loud music ordinance issue, do they step up, wait for somebody to call in?
It one of the things I can't say how many violations we may have, how many loud music complaints we would have had if the officer addressed it already. So all I would know is when they did call us. So most of the time, if there's an off-duty officer working at the bar, as you can see in the report, especially for 509, the off-duty officer at the scene addresses the issue with the bar, as opposed to us sending squads. Sometimes the off-duty officer, you'll see at the end of the report, it'll say the off-duty officer working at the bar either confirmed it was or wasn't loud music. So I can't say how many times they stopped, you know, us from being called. I just can tell you, when we are called, most of the time, especially at 509, that off-duty officer or officers address it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alderman Horton?
Mr. Chair, hold on, let me get up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is also kind of like a follow-up from Alder Peterson, and I think that Sergeant Webb kind of explained it. I do have a concern. The concern is that we have 2 off-duty police officers there. When I read the reports, and I could be wrong, when I read the reports, it always, I would say almost 85% or 90% of the time, it says when they get there, the officers say that the music isn't loud. So it kind of leads me to either is something going on in the downtown area where people upstairs that they are complaining, or inside of those buildings. But with the police officer being there, the report usually say that it didn't happen. The other thing is that I know that we went back far in a lot of our reports. And the other thing is that the person wasn't found. They were looking for someone, but for Mr. Thorpe, you know, I would say that whatever you can do to make this thing better for the establishment and for your business, I probably would advise that you do that. You know, I've said before in the past, loud music is loud music, but you are in a residential area. People are going to call. I would probably advise you to keep those off-duty police officers there if you can afford them, to keep them there, because, you know, it's been a lot of calling you guys in, and this goes all the way back to last year. And I think some of the things that were read last August or whatever, I'm quite sure we covered it, because if I can recall, you were there the last session, kind of like we had late last year. And we had the conversation about, you know, just keeping the music to a minimum. So I was just concerned about that, Sergeant Webb, about, you know, when those officers are inside the bar and the report constantly say when they got there, there was no loud music found.
Well, Alderman Horton, for police officers, they're not inside the bar, they're outside the bar. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. They can't really be inside the bar. They can do a walkthrough every now and again. But generally, the rule of thumb is, and it was brought up last year with the off-duty officers being out there, that we want them to step in and address these issues, because the main point of having them there is to relieve some of the resources that the department would otherwise have to kind of holster. And I think that's kind of why we encourage bars, if they need officers, to get them, just to kind of lighten the resource load. So, like I said, again, I'm not there at the office, and I don't know the amount of time between the call for service and when the officer arrives. If you're talking about a Friday, Saturday night in the summer, and someone calls in the loud music, if staffing's not where it needs to be, you might not get an officer there for 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question for Sart. Oh, any other questions from committee members?
Alder Peterson.
All right, and I got to step away for 1 minute, but go ahead.
For future reference, excuse me, it would be nice to hear from the off-duty officers, be it a written statement or in person, as to what they feel the atmosphere is at the bar, and if there is an issue. You know, I see we get the reports, but it would be nice to hear either in a written form or have them appear as well as to what they think at the bars, and if there's any serious problems that are there, or if it's just a one-off for the violence. That's it. Thank you.
Sorry. Sergeant Webb, I guess my last question to you would be, that night of the big fight, what was any report from the police officers on that one? Or just what you read us? That January meeting, or that January incident. Hello?
Hello?
Did you hear me?
This is Tharp. I don't know where the officer
Oh,
is.
okay, so where is that? I don't know where everybody is.
Me neither.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, Sergeant Webb, can you hear me?
We're working on trying to get something going right now. Our phone just went out, so I'm going to try to hang up on the phone and try to call back on our phone. I'm
Okay,
on my
'cause
cell
we can-
phone right now.
All right, because we can hear Mr. Tharp.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened to our phone. Give me a minute. I'm going to try to get it to work, okay?
All right, well, hold
I
on.
apologize.
Okay.
All right, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, I think I had lost, oh, no, Micah's still on. Okay, good.
Okay, so my
Okay,
question
sorry.
is, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, my question is for Sergeant Webb, that January incident, what kind of thing were the police on duty that night where they claimed they had a gun and everything?
He was, so it was a total of 3 incidents all rolled into one. So the officer, actually the sergeant that was working there that night, was dealing with the male-female civil to where the female took the male keys and took his car. He walked away from the front door to deal with that, and as he's dealing with that, that's when the fight supposedly took place inside the bar. As he's heading back to the bar, that's when the other incident supposedly took place on 7th Street where we got the call for the parties with the guns.
Okay, and my question, I suppose we don't have any video from any of this, am I correct?
No. No, I think when we went to check, no, there wasn't. And then, like I said, the stuff on 7th Street, just was, no one saw it. You had an officer trying to be in 3 places at once. So while he was dealing with the car civil, the fight supposedly happened when he was trying to go address the fight, they had the other things spill out onto 7th Street.
Isn't that kind of personal though? Like if a boyfriend and girlfriend, a key dispute or something like that, we get blamed for that. If it happened down the street, I mean, whatever they had going on.
Well, it's just a concern. There's just so many different things going on here, and it started from your bar. That's why we're concerned about it. So I guess any other questions from the committee members, and what's your pleasure?
Receive and file.
Okay, we have a motion to receive and file. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right, we have a motion to receive and file in a second, and it passed. I don't know if we want to explain to the applicant, I mean, what this means, or
Sure,
are we
I
good
can
with
do.
this right now? All right, I'd like to explain to him what happens now.
Mr. Tharp, at this point, the receive and file vote of the committee means that it works as a strike against you. You obviously know and are familiar with the ordinance, which states that if you get 2 strikes within a 6-month period or 3 strikes within a 1-year period, the matter automatically gets referred to the due process committee, at which point the committee can vote to suspend or revoke your license. So right now, it's 1 strike against you. The last time that you were called in that were counted against you, just so that you know, would have been in May of 2019. And then before that, it would have been, let's see here, just 1 second. So May of 2019, and then before that, it was August of 2008. So again, if you get 2 within a 6-month period or 3 within a 1-year period, you will automatically be referred to the due process committee. But at this time, it just counts as a warning against you.
When does that question about the 2 and the 6-month period?
Yes.
When does that start? From the incident or from the meeting today?
It's from the date that you are voted by the committee to be called in. So the date for this one is actually January 14th of 2020. So even though you're talking about the incident now and discussing it with the committee now, the original call-in date is the date that counts. So that would have been January 14th, 2020.
All right.
Any other questions?
Great. All right, seeing that good luck, and seeing that there's no more business with this applicant, we'll move on. Next item of business is 007220, communication on behalf of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee requesting the appearance of Jacqueline Legrone, agent for Dubai Hookah Lounge at 607 6th Street, pursuant to a formal expression of concern, and also requesting consideration of rescinding the formal expression of concern, First District. Sergeant Webb, could we go through the reports?
Yeah, so, I think the initial, reason for the call in was because of the January, the January 18, 2020 assault. Officers responded today, 100 block of Grand reference an assault that occurred at the bar. The caller stated while in the bar, she was assaulted by a known suspect. The caller stated she was struck in the face several times by the suspect holding an unknown object. The caller stated after the assault, she left the bar and went to her friend's house. Today, 100 block of Grand. Going forward, we had a February 1st incident that was loud music. You had a February 2nd incident, which was loud music. February 2nd, you also had ordinance violations. Officer responded to the bar, reference ordinance violation. The caller stated patrons from the bar were exiting the 7th Street side. The officer working advised that he checked, and there were no patrons exiting via the 7th Street side. The officer also noted that patrons are allowed to leave the bar on the 7th Street side. You had a February 7th, loud music. And then you had a February 15th assault, where officers responded to St. Mary reference an assault that occurred at the bar. They made contact with the victim. The victim stated while at the bar she was attacked by a known suspect. The victim stated after the assault she went to the suspect's house to retrieve the keys. Ultimately, the victim had a 1-inch laceration, and the bar was closed prior to officers responding. As part of the follow-up to the assault that happened February 15th, we completed the investigation. It was found as being complete, and a complete investigation means we've done all that we could, and more than likely indicates that the victim in the matter is not cooperating. When we attempted to get video of the incident, this assault, where it occurred, was not covered by the security cameras inside the bar, so it would not have captured the actual assault that was alleged by the victim. And then from there, you had the February 29th, loud music. On March 4th, suspicious circumstance, and on March 8th, noisy party.
I'm looking, okay, go ahead.
Oh, and since the time of that, we've had a total of 4 calls to that location since then. And that's so from that time to now, we've had a total of 4 calls to that location.
Okay, I'm looking at one from 4/11 where it says officers, health violation officers responded to the bar referencing a health violation. The caller stated the bar was open with 5 to 6 parties inside playing darts. Upon arriving, officers advised they observed parties inside the bar, but the door was locked. The officer advised he banged on the door until it was open. It says the officer noted upon looking inside, he found some of the parties he observed prior to knocking on the door were no longer in the bar, and the music was extremely loud. The officers added he believes the parties ran out of the bar area prior to the door being open. The officers made contact with the manager, who stated that everyone at the bar were employees and admitted they were playing darts. The manager was advised of the complaint and told to turn the music down. So they believe there was more people in there that weren't in there when they went in. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to call up the agent now.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, there was no answer right now. You want me to try again?
I tell you what, we'll go on to the next item and we'll come back to this one. If they don't answer, then we'll figure out what to do with it. So we'll move on to the next item at this point. Okay. Next items, 017320, communication on behalf of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee requesting the appearance of Douglas Nicholson, agent for the Brick House at 316 Main Street, pursuant to a formal expression of concern, and also requesting consideration of rescinding the formal expression of concern. First District. So Sergeant Webb, you want to fill us in?
For this one, it stems from I have the report right here. The February 23rd incident in which officers responded to the bar, referencing people fighting that spilled into the street. Upon arriving in the area, officers advised there were no fights. The officers added there were parties yelling at each other and headed towards their respective vehicles. Officers made contact with the bartenders. The bartenders advised they were unsure why the fight started, but it quickly dissipated. The bartender added a few tables were thrown, and she was unsure who was fighting. On our end, we never made contact with anyone. We never was contacted by any victims or anybody in reference any additional information for this, so it was never looked into, because that's all we had was the initial statement from February 23rd.
All right. So we'll call up the agent.
All right, give me 1 second.
Can I ask a question while we wait?
Sure can.
So was there any video or not for that?
I don't really know.
All right, I have Doug on the phone, and he's ready for you.
All right. Would you please swear him in?
Yeah. All right. Doug, can I have you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you have been called here today because the committee has received notice of one or more concerning incidents at your establishment. As a result, the committee has issued a formal expression of concern against you under section 6-27 of the ordinance. If you are issued 2 within a 6-month period or 3 or more in 1 year, you are referred to the city attorney's office for disciplinary proceedings. We will start with the police department summary. After that, you will have an opportunity to address the committee. You are not required to discuss the specific incident unless you wish, but you do have to tell us how you intend to address the issues going forward. And then.
Okay, Sergeant Webb.
Yes, so this was initiated due to the February 5th, 2020 incident, which was an assault. Officers I'm sorry. What bar now?
Brick House.
Okay. Give me just a second, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. Okay. This was initiated on February 23rd, 2020. Officers responded to the bar, reference a fight. Dispatch advised they received a call for a fight with about 10 people that spilled into the street. Upon arriving in the area, officers advised there were no fights. The officers added there were parties yelling at each other and heading to their respective vehicles. Officers made contact with the bartenders. The bartenders advised they were unsure why the fight started, but it quickly dissipated. The bartender advised a few tables were thrown and she was unsure who was fighting. Since the time of this report, we've had 0 additional calls to the bar.
All right. Doug, you want to kind of fill us in what you think happened?
Certainly. I don't know anything about tables being thrown. That's news to me. But there was a gentleman, 2 people in the bar that had personal vendettas against each other from things that happened outside of the bar. And one decided that he was going to assault the other one. The security team was on top of it right away. They removed the person who was the instigator outside, settled down him, they kept the other person inside so that the fight wouldn't go onto the street. Once the person was escorted down the street, they let the other person out. In the meantime, they had locked the doors, turned up the lights, turned off the music, and we closed early, and then we got the other person out. There was also an event crowd that night because that was a Mardi Gras event. So it wasn't our normal crowd. Just like on First Fridays, you get a crowd that isn't your normal crowd. So I think this was an isolated one-time incident. Obviously don't think we have an issue with this on a regular basis. And I'm very proud of my staff for handling it correctly.
And I think you did, but you were called in because aldermen, any kind, there's some sort of ruckus out there. They get a little concerned. So I'm going to ask any of the committee members if they got any questions.
Yeah, I guess just, so you said on a regular, just what I asked the last person as well. So on a regular night, you have what's your security look like generally?
Depends on the evening. On Friday and Saturday nights, we have between 2 and 3 security members, depending on what was going on. I believe that night at Mardi Gras, we probably had 4 or 5 security members. Our head of security is 25 years in the business doing this, so he's very well versed and takes his job very seriously.
So, any other questions? And I believe this was an isolated incident, and I know we don't ever really hear too much coming from there. So, if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion from the committee. If no one wants to make a motion, I would like, on this item, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the concern. And is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any other questions? All right, thank you, Doug. And you want to explain to Doug what this means for him? No?
Sure, Doug. As you know, the city has a system where if you get 2 strikes within a 6-month period or 3 within a 1-year period, you're sent to a due process board. The committee today voted to rescind the formal expression of concern, which means it does not count as a strike against you for future purposes. Any questions at all?
Not at all. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, and thank you for your time. Moving on. All right. Item 017420, communication sponsored on behalf of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee requesting the appearance of Andrew Wensing, agent for Pubon, Wisconsin at 524 Wisconsin Avenue, pursuant to a formal expression of concern, and also requesting consideration of rescinding the formal expression of concern. First District. So we'll hear from Sergeant Webb first.
Yes, this is reference an incident that was initiated on February 5th, 2020. Officers from the City of Racine Police Department responded to the bar reference to assault. The caller stated a party had been assaulted inside the bar by 2 suspects. The caller added the victim was unconscious. Upon arriving, officer located the victim outside the bar. While speaking with the victim and witnesses, the suspects returned. After a short struggle, the first suspect was taken into custody. After a short foot pursuit, the second suspect was taken into custody. The victim was transported to the St. Mary Hospital due to his injuries. The victim stated the assault started when he attempted to stop the suspects from leaving the bar before they paid their respective tabs. The victim stated he was punched by the suspect and at some point lost consciousness. The bartender advised the incident was captured on the bar security camera, which was ultimately recovered by the police department. The 2 gentlemen mentioned in this were both subsequently arrested and charged. No further ailment to the victim.
All right. Thank you. So we'll call Mr. Wensing now.
All right, give me 1 second.
All right.
So also, since this call, there's an additional call to the bar in that time frame.
How many? 1? Okay. Yeah, you were breaking up there. I don't know why.
All right, it went straight to voicemail. Well, it rang twice and then went to voicemail. Do you want me to try again, or?
Yeah, try one more time, and then if not, we'll wait till the end of the meeting and go back.
Okay.
He did get this information from you that we were calling today, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I have him he is in the meeting.
Okay, first thing, you want to swear him in?
Yeah. All right, Andrew, can I have you raise your right hand?
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you have
Right.
been called here today because the committee has received notice of 1 or more concerning incidents at your establishment. As a result, the committee has issued a formal expression of concern against you under section 6-27 of the ordinance. If you are issued 2 within a 6-month period or 3 or more in a year period, you will be referred to the city attorney's office for disciplinary proceedings. We will start with the police department summary. After that, you have the opportunity to address the committee. You are not required to discuss the specific incident unless you wish, but you do have to tell us how you intend to address the issue going forward.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hi, this is Sergeant Webb. I'm the liaison. So this is stemming from a February 5th incident at the bar. Officers responded to the bar referencing assault. The caller stated that a party had been assaulted inside the bar by 2 suspects. The caller added the victim was unconscious. Upon arriving, officers located the victim outside the bar. While speaking with the victim and witnesses, the suspects returned. After a short struggle, the first suspect was taken into custody. After a foot pursuit, the second suspect was taken into custody. The victim was transported to St. Mary Hospital due to injuries. The victim stated the assault started when he attempted to stop the parties from leaving the bar without paying their respective tabs. The victim stated he was punched by the suspect and at some point lost consciousness. And the bartender advises that the incident was captured on bar security camera, which was ultimately recovered by the police department.
All right. You want to give us your take on this, Andrew?
The only real discrepancy that I was led to believe, and just from the video that I saw, is that, you know, the patron who was assaulted was outside of the building at the time. And I was led to believe that the people that did it had already paid their tabs and were basically leaving. But other than that, that's sort of the gist of it. And you know, the bartender that was there actually, I believe, assisted the officer in apprehending the people when they did, for some reason, decide to come back right as the officer was right there. It was pretty convenient.
So, I mean, and you guys had video surveillance to give to the officers too, am I correct?
Yes, we did.
All right, it sounds like you guys did everything correct. But every time there's some type of an incident like this with a big fight, they like to call people in and ask. So I'm going to ask now if there's any questions from any of the committee members.
Yeah, I have a question. So, I mean, I just ask everyone just in general. So it sounds like, you know, there are two pictures of what happened, but can you tell us what, like, on a general night, what security is like there?
Well, generally on a Tuesday night, there would not be a lot of patrons there, and it would be kind of the bartender would be sort of the person that would have to handle everything, which is pretty common of a bar our size. We definitely do have security on weekends. This was sort of a very, very odd Tuesday night for us.
Thank you.
And there's only been one other incident on here. So is there any other questions from any of the committee members at all?
Alder Peterson has his hand raised.
All right, Alderman Peterson.
Yes, is the second incident relevant in this? If so, what was the follow-up incident and when?
I could say it's probably not relevant, just because I don't have it highlighted, but this is one of the incidents that took place after the initial assault until now. So we had a call for service there. I can try to find it. It's in all the reports I sent you guys, but
Okay.
I don't think it's substantial enough.
Okay,
Off top, but I can find it.
that's fine. Thank you very much.
I did call to have one patron removed just because I had asked him to leave and he was refusing. But that's the only thing that I can think of in between that.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
It was,
Right,
it was actually March 12th, and it was for an unwanted party.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it says bartender called because the party was refusing to leave.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate it. Thank you, Officer Webb.
All right, so I would entertain a motion.
Same one.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the formal expression of concern.
Do we have a second? Or we have a motion and a second. Any other questions from the committee members? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and Nu, you want to explain to the applicant what this means for them?
Sure, sir. As you're probably aware, and you were made aware by the letter from the clerk's office, the city does have a strike system. If you get 2 strikes within a 6-month period or 3 strikes within a 1-year period, you are referred to the due process board. At that point, your license may be suspended or revoked. Because the committee voted to rescind the formal expression of concern today, that means this does not count as a strike against you for future purposes. Any questions?
No.
All right, thank you for your time, Andrew.
Thank you.
right. All right. Moving on. Item 041020. Communication sponsored or requesting the appearance of Matthew Levrine, applicant for an operator's license. And we'd had a motion to defer this. Now we're back up on it, and we'll have the police officer speak to this item first before we call him.
He was disqualified under number 1 and number 2 of the guidelines. The first one being a felony conviction was substantially related. The second being 2 or more offenses within the past 5 years involving crimes of violence, lack of cooperation with law enforcement, or distribution of drugs. 2 or more of the same offense within the past 10 years was substantially related. We had a 2011 child abuse felony conviction, which is a felony. You had a 2011 possession of a dangerous weapon, and 2 2011 sexual assault of a child 16 or older.
Okay, and if I'm reading those right, to 2011 ones were was misdemeanor sex with a child 16 or older. Am I correct?
Yeah, but the child abuse was a felony. That was the only one.
All right, and since 2011, they've had nothing on it at all?
No.
All right, so we're going to call up the applicant at this time.
Okay, give me 1 second. All right, I have Matthew on the line.
All right, the first thing we're going to do is have you swear in the applicant.
All right, Matthew, can I have you raise your right hand?
Yep.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
First thing we're going to do is hear from the police liaison officer, please.
Yes. According to the guidelines, he's disqualified under number 1, which is a felony conviction, which substantially relates, and number 2, the 1 or more offenses within the past 5 years involving crimes of violence, lack of cooperation with law enforcement, for distribution of drugs, or 2 or more of the same offense within the past 10 years was substantially related. And this is all generated from the 2011 felony conviction, the 2011 possession of dangerous weapon conviction, and the 2 2011 sex with a child 16 years of older misdemeanor convictions.
All right. Would you want to explain this to us, sir?
Yeah, so I was 17 at the time, and I had a couple of different girlfriends I was sleeping around with. And when my daughter was born at 17 is kind of when I started to wean all that back in, but that is what happened. I did have sex with a girlfriend or 2 of mine when I was 17.
Okay, and can you explain us the child abuse felony and the possession of dangerous weapon if you want to, or you don't have to? It's up to you.
Well, the knife one was the night of the Christmas school concert, so I had a pocket knife on me because we were doing decorations. And when they came into the school to get me, I did still have it on me. As far as the child abuse, I used to cut myself, as did a couple of the girls I was with, so that kind of all got tied into the mentality of, since I had sex with them and things like that, that it came from that.
All right, and since then it's been going good?
Yeah, it's going great. I'm married now, 6.5 years, have 4 kids.
Okay.
Wife's doing a good, yeah.
Okay. I got one question, and that always concerned me. So he's looking for an application for a bartender's license. How does this felony conviction substantially relate to that? Maybe New can answer me that question?
Sure. So if you recall, Alderman Cole, this committee passed the policy guidelines to determine what does and does not substantially relate. And under those guidelines, any felony conviction would substantially relate, assuming let me take a step back for a second here. So if you take a look at those policy guidelines, it defines what substantially relates, but it's basically any conduct that may affect the person's ability to perform the licensed activity. So for example, if the person were convicted of a sexual assault, that might relate to his ability to serve members of the public. But again, this is something that should be determined by the committee. Those guidelines are in place just as a general rule that states, look, if you're convicted of a felony, it does substantially relate as a general rule. But the committee does and can make an exception provided that there's evidence of rehabilitation. So for example, the committee can consider the nature and the seriousness of the offense, the circumstances of the offense, any mitigating factors, the age of the individual at the time of the offense, the length of the time that has elapsed since the offense was committed, any letters of reference by the person who has been in contact with that individual since then, and any other evidence of rehabilitation. So even though it may substantially relate, again, that's determined by the committee. The committee can take into account evidence of rehabilitation. If there is evidence of rehabilitation, the committee must grant a license.
And I guess a letter was sent by a member of the family. Am I correct? I saw it. Is this the one?
Correct. There was
sorry. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know if everyone had a chance to see that. So does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Alder Lemke's hand is up.
All right, Alderwoman Lemke.
I have a question, not necessarily for the applicant, and please forgive me, I was looking at the documents, but I didn't quite see an answer to my question. But is that typical, or does that make sense that someone would have a felony charge as a 17-year-old who had a 16-year-old girlfriend?
Yes, it can be a felony offense.
Yes, I was tried as an adult.
Thank you.
Alder Peterson hand is up.
Alderman Peterson.
Question, how has everything else been going? You've been able to maintain or keep other employment?
Yes, I have been working for the last 6 years now. Before I worked at IRA's, I was at Total Wine for 2 years, and then before that, I was at Experience Fitness, the gym, for about 3 or 4 years as a manager.
Fantastic. So you've been working at IRA. You've already been working for IRA's?
Yes.
Okay, so he's already been around alcohol. So.
Well, yeah, I worked at Total Wine before that.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, you're welcome.
Is there any other questions from
Alder Horton's hand is up.
Alderman Horton.
I guess my question is this: was there any probation or anything, and did you successfully complete it, or how did they handle the case?
I did 6 months in jail for the knife possession, and then I did 3 years of probation that I completed in 2014.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? And I guess I would entertain a motion. And the motion would be to approve or deny.
Motion to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right. Good luck, sir. You have your license, and I think that after the next council meeting, or does he get it immediately?
Okay.
We will get it printed tomorrow and get it mailed out to you.
Thank you.
Then. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yep.
All right. Moving on. All right, item 041120. Communication requesting the appearance of Toriana Woods, applicant for an operator's license, working in the 12th and 14th district. And on July 14th, we have asked for her to be here, and she didn't appear, so this is our second time. So can we hear from the police officer, please?
Yes, she will be disqualified under guidelines number 5, false statement on the license application. She did not disclose her prior convictions. She had a 2014 disorderly conduct non-criminal conviction and another 2017 disorderly conduct non-criminal conviction.
All right, and did we hear from the applicant at all?
No, I have not. She has received letters and has signed for them, but she has not given us a call to give us a good number to call her back at. And there was a letter. Good.
All right, so normally what happens, this is the second time we called her in and she didn't appear. So normally we deny these. It's your pleasure, committee. We need a motion.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
All right. All right. Moving on. So I guess we'll take these one at a time. Item 021320, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department Liaison of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee, requesting the consideration of the license premise report for March 24th, 2020, and any formal expression of concern pursuant to it. Sergeant Webb, is there anything on this one that jumps out at you?
No, sir, not unless you guys have some questions.
Yeah, I didn't see too much on that one either. Any questions from any of the committee members?
Alder Horton's hands is up.
Alderman Horton?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nope, he said no.
All right, well, I guess on that, we'd entertain a motion to receive and file this item.
Motion to receive and file.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, all right. It's been approved. Moving on. 021420, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department Liaison of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee, requesting the consideration of the license premise report for April 14th and any formal expression of concern pursuant to it. Anything jump out at you, Sergeant Webb?
No, but at the last meeting, there was a request to check the hours of operation for 2005 Taylor Avenue.
Okay.
I'm not sure when the COVID-19 order went into effect. So we checked it 3 times and each time it was closed, but I'm not sure when that order went into effect, because if that order went into effect before we checked, they couldn't be open anyway at that time with the first initial order that bars and all restaurants were closed. So we did do a check on the 23rd, the 24th, and again, the night of the 24th. And all 3 times they were closed.
And what month was that?
March 22nd.
Okay. And do we know of any kind of checks over the last couple months at all?
No, I haven't initiated any since then, because again, with the order being what it is, I think it's hit or miss if someone's open or not. But we can definitely try to initiate another one if we think business are back to normal hours.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to, there have been different concerns with this place, and I guess I wouldn't want this one received and filed. So I guess I'd make a motion that we check on this one again, and hopefully someone will second this. So I make a motion to have the police department check and see if their hours of operation are in order.
Mr. Chair, I have
yeah,
a question.
Sure.
What's the place again? What's the location?
It's the old Hammonds on Taylor Avenue. Remember, you called them in, they've been hit and miss when they're open and closed and such.
Okay.
You got the number? Oh, I thought Amber had something. All right, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
do have a question. I do have
Okay.
one question. I don't know if it's for the chair or for Attorney New. Do we have to make a motion for them to have the
No.
police office
No,
do anything? I think we just
Okay.
we can just talk about it and he
Okay.
can do it and then.
okay, that's all, that's all.
Sorry,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
That's all right, I
Alder
appreciate it.
Peterson, excuse me, Alder Peterson does have his hand up though.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes, is the issue here whether or not they are actually operating or whether or not they're closed and using their license?
No, it's to make, because we've been coming, people that haven't been open on a consistent basis because people want licenses.
That's what I'm saying. So they're not maintaining their hours. So we're looking at the possibility
Right,
in the future of, yeah.
right.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, they could be open all the time now. I don't know, but it's just that it's happened before at this address.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on, item 21620, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department Liaison of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee, requesting the consideration of the license premise report for April 28th, 2020, and any formal expressions of concern pursuant to it. Anything jump out at you, Sergeant Webb?
No, but just like with, was it Dubai that had the people in there during the COVID order? Two Sheets to the Wind had a similar incident on April 18th, to where there was an initial rumor of 20 to 30 people being inside the bar. The officers went there. They observed 6 people inside the bar. There was drinks on the counter and open food containers. The owner was advised of the violation and stated no one was coming in and out of the bar. The owner added the parties were helping him put in a new bar. At the request of the officers, the patrons left the bar.
All right. Anything from the committee on this at all? Can I entertain a motion?
Receive and file.
All right, we have a motion to receive and file. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on. Item 037120, communication on behalf, did I miss one?
0296?
Okay, I missed that one. I apologize. So we're going to go to item 29620, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department, liaison of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee, requesting the consideration of the license premise reports for May 26, 2020, and any formal expressions of concern pursuant to it. Anything jump out at you, Sergeant Webb?
No, sir, not unless you guys have any questions.
I didn't see anything too much on that one. So I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. 037120, communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department liaison of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee, requesting the consideration of the license premise report for June 23rd, 2020, and any formal expression of concern pursuant to it. Sergeant Webb, once again.
On June 12th, and it's only in here because it came up with, at reruns, officers responded to the bar reference a weapons violation. An unknown caller stated there were a group of males, went into the bar with guns, then disconnected. Dispatch advised they were able to make contact with the caller again. They said 3 to 4 parties went to the bar in their late teens that was carrying guns in their waistband. Officers arrived in the area. They ended up locating a wanted party, and they chased them down. They never made contact with the bar. So that's, I don't know if they were or weren't there because of the wanted party. So other than that, no. It was.
All right. So I'd entertain a motion on this item.
Well.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 044320. I'm not gonna read the whole thing again, but this is for the July 14th, 2020 meeting. So anything, Sergeant Webb?
So on June 22nd, we had a shooting at Coasters. From what the victim said and the suspect said, what we gathered was the victim was in the area of Coasters in front of the bar when the suspect pulled up. Victim is suspect's boyfriend. He attempted to pull her out the car, at which point she produced a firearm and ended up shooting him in the leg. Coasters did provide us video reference the incident. For the suspect, we don't know if she was in the bar prior to the incident, left and came back. From what we can tell, the victim never made it into the bar. It just happened right in front of their door.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Alder Peterson's hand is up.
Alderman Peterson?
For Officer Webb, did anybody talk to the bar owner or operator at the time to find out if either individuals were in the bar during, prior to the event?
Yes, and she didn't believe they were. But yeah, she didn't believe that either one of them were in the bar directly before the incident. And like I said, when we talked to the suspect and the victim in this matter, both statements they gave didn't match what the video actually showed, because the victim claimed he never knew the suspect. In fact, it was his girlfriend.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much.
No problem, sir.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion on this item.
I would move to receive and file just because it sounds like they weren't in the bar.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 48720, same thing, formal expression of concern for a 7/28/20 report. Anything on there, Sergeant Webb?
So for July 8th, it's just an error. That bar now is called The Void. Apparently it got its name changed, so I'll make that correction for you guys, just in case you're looking at it like that's not a real bar no more. So on, again, July 16th, we had Uptown Pub and Grill. Officers responded to the bar reference to unwanted parties. The caller stated the bartender was refusing to serve a party and he was now causing a problem. The caller stated the male party was threatening the bartender. Upon arriving, officers made contact with him. He was found to have warrants. While being taken into custody, he resisted officers and he was subsequently tased. The bartender was spoke to. She advised that this party has caused problems in her bar before, and it was just 3 different complaint numbers initiated for it. So it was an unwanted party. When we get there, he has warrants. When we try to take him into custody, he ends up tussling with officers, was ultimately tased. Bartender said he's caused problems at that bar before.
All right.
He was arrested. I'm sorry. He was
what
arrested.
I saw that.
Oh, yeah. We didn't just tase him and let him go, sir.
Sounds like the bar did what they needed to do. So I would entertain a motion from the committee.
Motion to receive and file.
We have a motion to receive and file. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Seeing none? All right. We have to go back to a couple items. I got to find which ones they were.
Yes, I believe it was just the hookah lounge, 007220.
All right. I know the last time we called them in too, they didn't have the agent. So we want to try calling them one more time.
Yep, give me 1 second and I will get a call in.
So no answer?
Not yet. No, it went to voicemail.
All right, last time we called him in, we asked for the agent, and it wasn't the agent that called. So I guess I would ask, the city attorney what we can do with this item.
Sure. So, as you know, the strike rule that I just explained to several of the licensees, for this particular one, they do meet the requirements for due process. So this last call in would have been back in January 14th for an incident that occurred January 18th. Before that, they had a call in April 16th of 2019, and before that, January 22nd of 2019. They also had another call in back in November 12th of 2019. However, that was rescinded. But even with the other two, the one in January, the one in April 2019, plus the January 2020 call, that means they've had 3 calls within a 1-year period. So normally this would be referred to the city attorney's office for proceedings on revocation or suspension. So the committee has several options. It could send this to the city attorney's office to start the process. It could receive and file the item, as in not take any action at this time. It could also move to rescind, as in not count this particular call against them and not have it be a strike against them. Or it could also refer the matter to a good neighbors meeting for a more informal approach. I will say that with this license, the license would have expired June 30th of this year because they did owe invoices for alcohol sales. The state has put a hold on the license. So until they pay that invoice and the state release the holds and informs the clerk's office, they actually are not operating at this time, and they haven't operated since June 30th. Because of the whole COVID situation, my understanding is that the clerk's office is giving them a little bit more time to pay that invoice. So it's possible that they could get their license released back again and start operating. But at this time, the invoice has not been paid, so they're not yet operating. And because they're not yet operating, I'm not sure if the committee would rather receive and file the item or still refer the matter to my office and let us handle it from there, or if you'd prefer to do this with the Good Neighbors meeting. So those are your 4 options. If you have any questions, please let me know.
I guess I'd like to refer it to the city attorney's office and to figure out what we can do with this item. I don't know what everyone else thinks. I'll entertain questions from other members.
Alder Peterson, hand is up.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes, could Attorney New tell me again? I didn't quite understand, why was their license not renewed? What's their fine?
So their license expired, like every other license expired in June 30th of this year. So normally their new license, because the committee did approve the renewal license, normally they would get that license and start operating under that license July 1st. Because they owe money to several wholesalers for the sale of alcohol license, the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Revenue, has essentially put a hold on their license. And there's a section in the law that states if they owe money for alcohol sales, they cannot get their license until that invoice has been paid. So at this time, because the invoice for approximately $12,000 has not been paid, even though they have been approved for the license and the renewal license was approved by the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I guess I would defer to individuals that have been on this committee longer. It sounds like they've been before you a number of times. This is pretty much the first time I've had the pleasure of dealing with this business. So I would defer on a motion as to what my other committee members feel and how they've dealt with this.
Well, to me,
I noticed Alder Horton's hand was up.
Alderman Horton.
I think there's bigger situation going on. It sounds as if they're probably not. I know with this pandemic going on, and a lot of bars not making the money that they were making before all of this stuff happened, and with that type of invoice not being paid, I don't know what's going to happen here, and it looks as if maybe they might not open up. So I'm open to whatever the committee might have before us. Oh, and I do have a question for the city attorney.
Sure.
Even if that is the chair wanted to make a motion for it to go before your office, all of the other stuff pertaining to the invoicing and all that still would have to be straightened out anyway through you guys, right?
Correct. So if you refer the matter to my office, what we would do is wait to see what happens with the license. Obviously, if he doesn't get the license back and the invoice is not paid, it doesn't make any sense for our office to file a summons and complaint to revoke or suspend the license. Assuming that the invoice is paid, at that point, my office, I would draft the summons and complaint and drag him through the due process procedure, but I wouldn't do that until he gets his license back or is eligible for his license.
Right, and even if we get to that point, then the business would not be open for the regular operation hours that they said they would be open. So we would still have an issue as far as the license, because they wouldn't be the bar wouldn't be serving anything or in use or using a license which it was intended. So I'm open for whatever motion the chair puts on the floor.
I mean, and I gotta say that a couple weeks ago I looked through the window and there wasn't even a bar stool in the place. That leads me to believe they're not reopened. I mean, there was nothing in the bar but the bar. So that's why I'm requesting this. So I make a motion. Okay, go ahead, No.
Sorry, just not to interrupt, but I wanted to let the committee know as well that even though we won't normally do anything until and unless he gets his license back, obviously, if this goes on for a longer period of time and he does not surrender his license, then we may start the due process license just to get the license back. So, for example, I may give him 30 days or 60 days. If he's not operating at that point and he refuses to surrender the license, we may just do a summons complaint, drag him in just to get the license back, because obviously this can't go on forever.
That was my part of my reasoning to get this thing moving forward. So I made a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, I think we've exhausted our agenda item. Anything else from the city clerk's office?
Can I just have you repeat your motion to me again? I'm sorry.
Oh, I made a motion to refer this to the city attorney's office.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right. So seeing that, anything else from anybody? Otherwise, we're entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All right. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're good to go, and thank you guys very much.
Good night, everybody.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.